What do you think is like the biggest like tech thing that you guys do that people maybe don't know about?
YouTube actually builds hardware.
How do you think about YouTube as a platform kind of moderating like voice cloning or AI cloning, like deepfakes?
Sure, yeah. We are very worried about deepfakes.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm genuinely such a big admirer of everything that you do at YouTube and at Google, and this is a big week for you. You guys are coming out with so many new AI products.
Yeah.
Can we just kind of set the stage of what your main focus is at YouTube from like the tech perspective?
Sure, yeah. I'm in charge of all the software at YouTube. So basically everything from the software on your phone to the software in our servers to the hardware we build that makes video transcoding awesome to the software in your TVs, all that stuff.
It's like low-key, I'm just in charge of everything that's tech because I feel like you guys are secretly a tech company. Like
we are a tech company. We're not secretly.
Yeah,
like we are unabashedly a tech company. That's what we are.
So many people would say like, oh, media, which definitely you guys are also a media company, but just from like the sheer encoding perspective, like 30,000 hours of footage is uploaded in every hour, and then like transcribing videos instantly. What do you think is like the biggest like tech thing that you guys do that people maybe don't know about?
There are two things I'll say. One that's kind of neat. YouTube actually builds hardware. So we built a chip that transcodes video. So transcoding is that part where creators like you upload a video and we have to make it ready to we make it smaller or different levels of quality, and so we're ready to send it back out to viewers.
Okay.
And this is really, really expensive. It requires, in fact, it was the biggest use of computers at Google. If you were to say what were all our computers doing, it was basically transcoding videos. And so we thought, hey, we should just build a special what's called an ASIC, a special chip that does this. There's CPUs, and you've heard about GPUs for AI or for graphics. Well, we built this thing which basically transcodes videos.
So how does it actually work? Like someone is in their home uploading a video, what happens next?
Yeah, so basically the video comes to us, we store it on a disk, and then we start do this process called transcoding. And so what that basically is we just start reading that file, which is the video file, and then we compress it, essentially. Well, we have to uncompress it because what you sent us is compressed, and then we compress it, and that's really what transcoding is ultimately. And then we write another file, which is just a smaller version of that video file, hopefully smaller.
Yeah.
And we hopefully haven't screwed up the quality. And what's really happening is that we're using these special chips that we built, and we've built a few versions of them that are sitting in our data centers, and they are doing all that specialized processing of those videos.
It's wild because it's free. Like I feel like people don't appreciate how expensive it was in the past to store media, and now you can almost use your YouTube channel as a way to like store progress. Like I can go back and see what I was making 8 years ago on YouTube, and it happens so quickly. Do you think that there will ever be a time where there's so much content uploaded that you guys are going to have to change your system, or is it infinitely scalable?
It's a good question. I mean, I think that the part that's pretty hard for us is like storing the world's videos forever and ever and ever. And I think like as you add the 12th ever to forever and ever and ever,
it starts to get stressful.
It starts to get a little bit scary. And so like our general hope is we want to make it possible for anyone to upload a video to YouTube and for folks to be able to see those videos.
Have you ever uploaded videos to YouTube?
Yeah, of course.
What was your channel about?
Well, I mean, channel's about like testing our products. I mean, I'm sort of like the least interesting person
That's
in
so
the
not
world.
true. Literally, like in the 5 minutes that we talked before, you're like doing skiing, hiking. You've worked at so many different tech companies.
Yeah, I mean, most people don't think that's too interesting.
I think that's fascinating.
Yeah, well, okay, well, I appreciate that. But I would say that basically I just test our products. And in fact, almost all the videos I've uploaded have been taken down automatically by our systems.
Wow. Yeah, the claiming system is fascinating because for anyone that doesn't know, it basically helps creators keep the IP of their products and not have people upload their work. How does it actually work on a back end from like the tech perspective?
Sure, yeah, it's a good question. So the short of it is that just like you said, people upload videos, and then it turns out that other folks can say, here's an example of a video I own. So like a sort of a canonical example would be someone uploading some part of some commercial television program, and they'd say like, you can't upload versions of that because hey, like I'm an iMedia company, own this piece of content, and so we have that piece of media which we call a reference, which is essentially like a reference to that thing. And then what we do is we built this whole thing which we call Content ID, but it's this matching system. And basically what we do is we take that piece of the video and we match it. We see if it matches to any videos on all of YouTube, and then we give the owner of that content an opportunity to hopefully to monetize, which I think as like keep it up there but show ads on it, and they get some of that revenue.
Okay, so this is one of the coolest things about YouTube is that there's so much machine learning and AI that goes on behind the scenes. I feel like AI became like the buzzword of like last year, but the reality is that I was even attending events from you guys years ago about how you were using it. I feel like AI is one of those pieces of technology that's just going to be integral in everything that happens. Pros and cons. Like in a recent video, I used AI to clone my voice. Hey, this is a fake voice. I love technology. If you like tech too, and this. And obviously, as a creator, there's hours of footage of you online, so it's very accessible for people to do that. How do you think about YouTube as a platform kind of moderating like voice cloning or AI cloning? Like
Sure,
deepfakes?
yeah, totally. I mean, we are very worried about deepfakes. We're worried about deepfakes from the perspective you just talked about, which is like, hey, that's my voice. Like,
Yeah.
you shouldn't be able to use that. Like, that's actually how in your case, that's how I make money. Like,
Yeah.
I make
Yeah.
videos. That's how I pay the rent. All those kinds of things. Like, that's pretty important. And the other side of this, of course, is people can use voices to manipulate other folks, right?
True.
Like to trick people into thinking things that are true that are really false,
Yeah.
or vice versa, especially harmful things. We have already have a bunch of policies around deceptive manipulation of content, and we're spending a lot of time thinking about how to like think about like what's the right way to make this stuff really automated and really safe for everyone in the community, for viewers, for creators, for advertisers, all those folks. We expect to see more of this, and so we think we have many of the right policies in place right now, but we are always looking at new policies and new ways to ultimately, like, the hard part is detecting these things, right?
Yeah, I
Like,
was just gonna
which
say,
one
how
is
do you
fake,
actually
which one's
detect
real?
it?
Yeah, well, we build software to find fake versions of your voice, or ultimately maybe we'll let you think about, like, your voice, and like, can you find your voice on YouTube, all those kinds of things.
All right, and then I also think we got to talk about all the new tech announcements that you guys are coming out with this week. There are
Yeah.
3 core ones.
Yeah.
Let's run through them because I think it's going to make creation a lot more accessible for people.
Yeah. Okay, so one thing we're going to do is we're going to launch this thing called YouTube Create,
Okay.
which is a standalone app that allows you to edit and make videos on your phone. So it's a separate app from YouTube. We're really excited about it. We've been working on it for quite some time. It'll come out and it'll let you build videos right from your phone. And so it's kind of, the idea is it's like in that sweet spot. You're not building shorts with it.
Okay.
You're not going to have to go edit stuff on your desktop computer or things like that.
Okay.
You'll be able to edit videos right from your phone.
Is it for editing like longer form videos than if it's not shorts?
Yeah, something like I think the sweet spot is like 5 to 15 minute long
Okay.
videos. Like I think it would probably get uncomfortable to like edit like a 30-minute video there.
And what type of editing are you actually doing in YouTube Create? Like, what are the features?
And we've got timelines and multiple layers, and you can drop text on things and all those
so
kinds of
cool.
things. Yeah, it should be pretty exciting.
I think that's cool because then in people's heads, it makes the connection between like YouTube as like the video platform and the creation platform more aligned. Like, I remember when I was learning how to edit when I was younger, it was like iMovie on Apple.
Yeah.
But I think so many of like the number one job right now that kids want is to be a YouTuber. They did a study recently in the US, which is like amazing.
It's not easy, is it?
I mean, it's so exciting that I
Yeah.
feel like the hard work is worth it. But I think it's cool that YouTube then makes it more accessible.
Yeah.
And then the other stuff is like the Dream.
Yeah, so that's this generative AI feature, and basically we'll be able to generate backgrounds for you, and it'll use it as your green screen, but we're calling it a dream screen because it's from your imagination.
Yeah. Oh, I like that.
Yeah, so we're pretty excited about it, and so the idea is that you can go anywhere in the world right from your bedroom or
Yeah.
wherever you're filming, and then stand in front of it. And
How do you navigate like IP rights with that? Because the idea is like that you'll put in a prompt and then it will make the background for you.
Yeah.
What if 2 people put in the same prompt?
2 people put in the same prompt is fine.
Okay.
The IP rights we really worry about is making sure that like the outputs that are generated are not owned by someone else.
Yeah.
We worry about like generating other people's trademarks and other things like that.
Yeah.
And so we do it really, I think, other than saying like we do it really, really carefully. Like
Yeah.
we spend a lot of time on it.
How does one like spend time on it? Like, is it like making sure that the content that you're feeding to the system is copyright free, or like what are the steps?
This is a great question. It's all of those things. So
Okay.
you're deep into this. Okay,
Yeah.
so first of all, the inputs, like what you
Okay.
train on, has to be stuff that you have the rights to train on.
Okay.
Okay. So training, by the way, is the part is like
Yes, like
what
training
you
the
do, training
transformer,
a model.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's one thing. The other thing you have to do is you have to look at like we call these things the prompt or the inputs, like
Yeah.
hey, like generate me a cool disco background or something
Okay.
like that. We would want to make sure that those are one, are not violative. Then the other part is like generate me some intellectual property that's owned by someone else.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that those things happen as infrequently as possible.
So the way like the text model works is it kind of is like predictive. It's like what word would be most likely to come after the previous word. So it's not like thinking. How does it work for an image? Like, how does it kind of come up with the piece?
Image approach is generally, there's lots of ways to do it. One of the most popular ways to do this thing called these models called Stable Diffusion.
Okay.
They take an image and they add a bunch of noise to it,
Okay.
and then they do the reverse process of removing noise.
Wow, that's cool.
And then they sort of tell it to kind of like direct it to look like the thing you want it to be, like a disco ball or something like that.
Okay, and then the image transforms from there?
Yeah, exactly. And you end up in that process, you actually learn how to generate these different images. So it's really cool, and it's very, very, very different at the moment from the way the tech stuff is working.
And then the third thing that you guys are launching is actually to help creators make better content for their audiences.
That's right. Yeah. And so the idea there is that we're trying to give you insight into essentially like what kinds of things that you should generate. The thing that we'll keep on doing is we'll keep doing recommendations, and we'll keep protecting people's intellectual property with machine learning, and that stuff will just get better and better, and that's really, really important. We can't like lose focus on that.
Yeah.
And then I think the second thing is that for viewers, we'll try to like enhance the experience, right?
Okay.
So we'll like generate summaries, probably generate quizzes, and and things like that.
Interesting.
So there's all sorts of things that we could do which are additive to the videos but don't change the videos. And the last part, I've talked about for a while, which is creating videos. Like that's the actual hard thing to do. I'm really excited about the ability to generate videos and edit videos with generative AI.
Yeah, it's actually fascinating because the new AI editing tools that you guys are releasing really feels like it's very focused on shorts, which I think is also the way to democratize people getting into creation.
That's right.
Because it feels like just a much lower barrier to entry to make a short. And it's also pretty creatively satisfying because you have the idea and then you can quickly execute on it.
Yeah, from idea to finish in what, like
in
a minute?
Day. Yeah.
Like
whereas like long form is really amazing, and I feel like long form is actually what creates like audience connection and impact.
Yep.
But it takes a lot longer, and maybe for new creators it feels overwhelming.
Yep.
So I think it's cool there are all the different options.
Yeah, everyone has to have a way to get started. Before YouTube existed, it was really hard to distribute a video, right?
True.
And so this is just making it easier to make a video.
So going back to what we said earlier about YouTube like being a full-on tech company, it's obviously a tech company in like the storing the videos and the AI stuff, but where else do you guys like really excel in tech?
So a couple of things that I think we're good at that people don't know we're good at. YouTube runs on pretty much every device in the world. That's actually not easy to do. It runs on watches, and it also runs on TVs, and it also runs on obviously computers and phones and tablets and smart speakers and in cars. So this is not easy to do. And of course, all those devices are all different from each other. It's super hard to get right. So that's one thing that we do that I'm really proud of that we do. Another thing that we already talked about, which is like really looking very deeply at a problem. Like we don't just stop at software. We're kind of like going from software to hardware to kind of figure things out, which I think is pretty exciting. The other stuff that we've been doing that I think gets talked a lot about, but like it's really the heart of YouTube is a recommendation system, right?
Yeah.
Like 70% of what people watch, we recommend to viewers. It's remarkable, and it's the heart of the system. People call it the algorithm and all that kind of stuff, but like we spend hours, days, years thinking about this, how to make it awesome. How can we help new creators be discovered? How do we make sure that that we help you round out your taste, find what you're looking for, anticipate what you're looking for, all those kinds of things. And this is one of our deepest investment areas. And you already mentioned another area where AI comes a lot, which is protecting intellectual property, right? Like ultimately, like you spent a lot of time building all these great videos, and like you should feel good about the fact that like those things are safe on YouTube.
So the recommendation system, 2 questions for you on that end. What does your homepage look like? Like if I logged onto your YouTube app, what would I see as
that's
videos?
a good question. So it's a combination of chill hop sounds with people doing backcountry skiing.
Wow.
So,
okay, backcountry skiing was something I did not know about 10 minutes ago, but now it sounds like insane.
Yeah, it's just like basically you just get out there where no one is skiing, and then you can imagine just adding some great chill hop music, and then it's just great to watch people skiing.
I think it's like incredible that YouTube, it's like the first time in history that you have like personalized media.
Yep.
Because like 50 years ago, it'd be like everyone's kind of watching
Everyone sees the same things, right? Yep.
But then on the other hand, I love that you guys do like trend reports because there are still cultural moments. Because I think the issue with personalized media is that you can end up with like a very segmented culture where no one has things to bond over.
Yep.
And I think YouTube really balances it well, where it's like you have your own personalized things, but then also what's happening on the platform.
Exactly. I mean, look, that's what I love about comments. I mean, that's where, like, I'm sure. I mean, I was looking at some of your videos. There's a great community on a bunch of your videos.
Yeah,
there aren't a lot of people who love the kind of these kind of backcountry skiing videos, but like, there's like a couple people who comment, like the creators, like they heart my comments. I'm like, oh, I feel connected.
Feels like, so
I'm out there with you. It's so great.
Totally.
That's what I love.
Yeah, before I started YouTube, I never really had friends that love technology in the same way that I did, and then YouTube opened up the door with like tons of people that all love technology. And I think it's awesome because it's so global that you can connect with someone in India about the same passion. You would never meet them otherwise.
Yeah.
Do you think about the globalization of YouTube a lot, of like how different features impact different parts of the world?
And you know what's kind of neat? Like, and you sort of hit the nail on the head, which is that YouTube just kind of, for the most part, works the same everywhere. I mean, it's not entirely true. Like, obviously, people like different things, and they listen in different languages. Like, you know, and there are different levels of ability for people to understand like what the language is in each of the videos. And we have more videos in English than any other language, right?
Yeah.
And so we worry about not having enough videos in many other languages of the world. So we worry about those problems, which are sort of like content problems. Like, do we have enough content for what people are looking for? And we work on automatic translation to make that possible. And maybe one day we'll have like automatic voice dubbing and
That
all
would
those
be cool.
all those kinds of things. So I think all those things are great. Just coming back to your core question, like YouTube kind of works like almost everywhere in the world in a very similar way, which is like people come to watch personalized videos and they find what they're looking for, which is it's pretty surprising, actually.
It's fascinating too because you work on software mainly, or exclusively, really.
Almost entirely, yeah.
And that is like such a quick pipeline to make changes. Whereas I feel like for hardware, like if I or like a reviewer criticizes a phone, you're like a year behind the cycle.
Right, yeah.
Whereas for software, you can push out an update pretty quickly.
We can, yeah.
Do you find that you push out updates quickly, or is there a lot of like internal testing before you make an update?
We do testing on everything we do before we push it out. We also push out software almost every day of the week.
Wow.
So,
like in terms of like just like bug fixes or like actual new features?
Both. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, there's obviously like on the weekends there's less of that, and we try to be careful. But for the most part, we're pushing out software all the time.
Wow. What's like a new software thing you guys pushed out this week?
Oh, okay. Well, you might know that we've been working on Sunday Ticket for a while, which for those of your viewers who are outside of the U.S., it's a U.S. football a subscription package, and we had some bugs that we had to get pushed out today.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about when you're like doing a collab like that? Like, is it, because I feel like everyone's been seeing it all over the platform, and it's kind of like YouTube is already so known. So what's like the play in doing a partnership?
The play, or the goal really for us is, I mean, first of all, broadly, we think YouTube is a great place to watch anything you're watching. So we talked about what I was watching, what's on my homepage, talked about what's on your homepage. For people in my family who love football, what's on their homepage is football. And what they really want to do, though, of course, is watch more and more football. And so for them, we noticed that like football and sports is one of those things that really brings people together. We think YouTube's really great at that. We think that in particular, building a community around sports, we think YouTube will be really well positioned to do that. Like one of the features, because people love to talk about sports. So like one of the features we have around the football games is live chat. So the idea is like, live chat is literally about that game that everyone's watching. This moment you were talking about, which is like, there aren't that many things that bring everyone together. Football is one of those things that brings everyone together in the US.
Taylor Swift is another one.
Taylor Swift, for example.
If you guys could like get
We'd love Taylor Swift to come. Yeah, Taylor Swift, if you're listening to this, we'd love to get you on our platform. And live concerts, we'd love to have you. But seriously, we have these live chats there, and we can build a community around it. And then YouTube becomes, again, thought of as the place where I can watch anything I want.
Yeah. Could you like give a little bit of like an explanation of like what it feels like on a day-to-day basis, like actually working in a tech company?
I would say that for me, there's sort of like the reality of working at a company, at a big company, and then there's sort of like the amazing things that we can do. So let me just say, like, the reality of working at a big company is there's thousands of people all trying to row in the same direction. It's really hard for thousands of people to row in the same direction. It's just super hard. I mean, like, what you see is like a box with a video in it and some recommendations, and like what I see is like thousands of people trying to figure out like how to get their great work, onto that one screen. That's sort of the bad, and then the good is that like you literally can just like sit in a room one day and like write down on a piece of paper, like, I really want this thing to happen. Like whatever this thing is to happen. Like, I really want live chat during sports, and it's like, well, that won't work. We don't know how to, like, it's won't, there's these problems and it won't scale and all that kind of stuff. And then you say, well, we can do it. And then you spend a little bit of time thinking about how to do it. And then people go and write the software, and then you sort of see it. It's just like,
it's kind of magic.
It is a kind of magic. It's really, I've always felt like the reason why I do this is because it's just magic. Like, people can just create things literally out of their imagination and make them appear on the screen.
You were saying you started when you were 7.
Yeah.
How has the like coding industry changed? Because I feel like now a lot of people are using AI to like help them bring their ideas to life.
Yeah.
When you were 7, it was probably not any of that.
When I was 7, it was like a different world. Yeah, I mean, I think, as I obviously got older and, studied computer science in college and, all those kinds of things, I came out to be a software engineer, to build stuff. I couldn't build things with my hands. Like, I've built all sorts of terrible things with my hands, like cabinets that open the wrong way and all that kind of stuff. But like, ultimately, software became a thing that I knew how to do. And, The way it's changed, I guess, is that we're building much bigger things than we ever used to build. There's way more users. So the good news is that you get a lot more feedback on what's going on.
Yeah.
You can actually build systems. Like all of our systems have logs. So every time there's an error at YouTube, we know what's happening. And then we just we count them up and we say, okay, that's a big enough error. Let's go figure out what that problem is and let's go fix it. It looks like that new build of the iPhone YouTube app runs out of memory more often than the last build. We should pull that build back, or we should go figure out what that is. Let's fix it and let's make the change. So I would say the thing that is changing, to your point about AI things, is that it is becoming easier to write code that is what I would call boilerplate code. Like I want to connect this thing to that thing. I want to build a form on top of this software so that I can take in your credit card or something like that. You can actually go to various systems and say, hey, could you build me an HTML form that does X, Y, and Z, and then you end up with the sort of the boilerplate of those things, and then you can go fill in those pieces. So that stuff's pretty exciting, but ultimately software engineers become more productive over time.
Yeah, I agree.
But I think we're at the very beginning of this sort of AI revolution coming to programming, and I'm really excited about it, but I'm also really nervous about it. We just talked about misinformation in terms of videos and stuff like that. A lot of these chat interfaces have the ability to hallucinate, right? And
which is wild. Can you maybe explain what that is for the audience if they don't know?
Oh yeah, sure. Literally they make up stuff.
With confidence.
Yeah, with absolute. Well, they've been trained lately to actually say
really interesting.
Yeah. They basically say you should try this out. You should be careful and all kinds.
Okay.
For example, as a programmer, and you say, hey, could you build me this thing that looks inside my Google Drive and sees if I have anything older than let's say 2 years and delete it. Let's say I don't want to pay for more storage from Google. Everyone, you should pay for more storage from Google, but of course buy all the storage you can. But let's say you've had your fill of storage, and so you want to write something that cleans out old things. So you write this piece of software. You could say to your favorite chat interface, mine is Bard, of course, and you could say hey, could you please write me the beginning of a piece of software that does all this stuff, right? And Bard doesn't do this, but other pieces of software could actually pretend that API exists, and it could say you should do this, you should do that, and then actually you go and first of all there's a warning that says you should be careful about running any code that comes out of any of these things. So then you go and run the code and it's oh yeah, that thing doesn't exist. There's no delete file or all those things don't exist. And so that's what hallucination is. It assumes they exist, but they may not actually exist. I've been working with my nephew to learn how to code, and he loves using ChatGPT. And then he tries out the stuff, but sometimes it doesn't work. Yeah. And since he's not yet a programmer, he
won't know what to.
He doesn't know how to fix it. But the cool thing is that he's able to do amazing things that he could never do if he were just to sit there and write out the code.
I was just at Carly Kloss's. She does a coding camp.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And they work really closely with Google and Apple to facilitate the program. And I think it's so cool that I started making videos when I was 13 for the same reason that you started coding, which is I had an idea in my head and I wanted to share it with the world. And I think that software and video is very similar in that way. If it doesn't exist, you can make it exist.
Exactly.
And there are so few things that are like that. Yeah. All right, my last question for you
please.
Is what's a personal project or something even at YouTube that you're working on that you're most excited about right now?
Well, there's a bunch of secret stuff that I'm most excited about.
That I can't tell.
Yeah, that I can't tell you about. I'd have to kill you. But I have this little task management software that I keep to keep track of stuff I want to do around the house, and I fill it with you take a picture of the dishwasher's broken. You take a picture of it so you remember which part you need to get and all that kind of stuff, or you take a video of this thing so you go to Home Depot, you needed this and that, and so it it filled up with storage, and I had to write this piece of software.
No way.
That had to clean it out.
That is so cool. Yeah, I would love to have the ability to have an issue with my tech and then write code for it. That's amazing.
You can do that. It's super cool to be able to do it. It's one of it's one of the coolest things to be able to do. And by the way, it's frustrating because I work and then I have to do this on the weekend and I have my family and all that kind of stuff. But it's amazing once it gets working. It's just so cool to get it working.
Yeah, learning code is a meta skill because it applies to so many different things in your life. And the same way learning video is a meta skill. You can use it at your kid's soccer game, but then also for your job.
Totally.
I think that's so cool. What would you recommend for people that want to get into code? Is there a go-to?
Realistically, YouTube is the best place to learn stuff. Yeah. I don't mean that in I work at YouTube.
No, I
fully
agree.
It really has amazing content for how to get started programming, and I think you should take a class. Really take a class, take a Python class, take a Java class, whatever. Not that to be obsessed particularly with languages, but just do something, and then do something you figure out something you want to do, some hobby project, like whatever it is. Like, you know what people love doing is there are these little devices called Raspberry Pis. Do you know about these things? Yeah. So like people love, like they, make them do weird things and all that kind of stuff. And, like, whatever, you make it turn off and on a light or whatever, like make it take the temperature or measure the air quality or figure out something in your life that you're kind of think would be cool to do.
Yeah.
And just do it.
All right. I deeply admire you. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay,
Genuinely appreciate a lot.
Thanks.
Have a nice day. Thanks.